up, YouTube? This is your boy Alex. Today's going to be a very interesting YouTube video. I got special projects coming up, and I want to make a major announcement here on YouTube. It's going to be probably 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 or 6 days, that you may not be getting no YouTube videos. No, I have not gotten no strike on my channel. No, I'm not quitting or punking out. I have special projects coming up, and some of these special projects require a lot of focus and attention. And you're going to see what I mean when I say these special projects. The first one up is going to be a video that this one was supposed to be right in the heart of the summer, but it's the month of May. And if I pull the video off any longer, it just will mess up all my other plans because I have other videos that's going to come after this. But this one's the first of that project that I was talking about from 2 weeks ago. It's going to be called Sex Game, the Top 10 Greatest Black Filmmakers of All Times. Now, this is a video that I've been wanting to make for the past 3 years. For 3 years, I want to turn this into a YouTube video. It's talking about 10 of the greatest, not just the best of the best in the game of Hollywood filmmaking. I'm talking about the best of the best to become the greatest of all times. You see, I got the t-shirt of Muhammad Ali, right? Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer of all times. Well, it's in that same state of mind. We're going to talk about some of the best actors and filmmakers in Hollywood that have been in the Hollywood game for 2 decades, 3 decades, or 4+ decades. And when you hear these names, some of these names, you've heard their name, you've seen their movies, you've seen them in television shows, or if you waited until 10 or 11 years later and you see them in some movie from 5 or 10 years ago, you know who they are. So when you hear these names, they're on this list. Now, unfortunately, the reason why it's 10 is because I have to conserve energy on my cell phone and the time. Whenever I make the videos, too, as you realize, last week, or should I say 3 days ago, I did a video and it was 45 minutes. And some people will not watch a video past 25 or 30 minutes. They might watch a video that's 32, 34 minutes, but once you make a video 36, 39, 40, 42, 45 minutes, that's like too long to watch a video. So I want to limit the time between 25 to 30 minutes. Let's hope we get lucky. Coming in at number 10 is Robert Toward. Now, he's a guy that started his acting career in the late 1970s, early 80s. He's been in everything. He's been in movies, television shows, commercials. He's produced, he's directed, he's written movies, television shows, plays. I mean, he first started off as a theater Broadway actor first. And he did a lot of those plays. Like before Tyler Perry came, how should I put this? He was kind of like Tyler Perry before there was Tyler Perry. But nobody really saw him as a promising director or writer. So he ended up becoming an actor in television and film. He did a lot of stuff in the late 1970s and 80s. You know that movie Roots? He actually auditioned for that. He auditioned for a lot of those movies. And it wasn't until he did a show called The Parenthood, which that's what he was known for, and then he did a movie called Meteor Man with Bill Cosby in it, where he tried to play a superhero based off of a comic book. That was kind of like the first African American superhero in a comic book. And then think about it, because there was Blade, there was Spawn, there was the Black Panther. Those characters always were there. But if you think about it, if it wasn't for Meteor Man and making a black superhero, do you think you would ever see Wesley Snipes as Blade? Do you ever think you would see Michael J. White as Spawn? Do you think you would see Chaz Bowman as Black Panther? No, because it started with this man. This man came in here and became like the second African American to actually play a superhero. We all know the first one was the actor who played in Coming to America as Eddie Murphy's father, as Darth Vader, but this, we're talking about the first ever black, so he gets this honor to be on this list. Now, it is a shame that he's not higher on the list because there are other people with great accomplishments and achievements that I have to mention, but he comes in at number 10 because he did pop up in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, so he's been around for like 4 decades. And when I say he's done it all, he's done it all. He's done television, he's done film, he's done theater, He writes, he produces, he directs. He gives back to his community. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. If he doesn't, he soon will get one. But this guy's good. You watch The Parenthood. You watch that movie Meteor Man. I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff. The guy was even in the movie The Five Heartbeats, which was based on a true story, which is a very good movie about African Americans from that time period and how they struggled in the music business. So he actually was in that movie The Five Heartbeats when he was like in his late 20s, early 30s. So he was in that movie too. So basically, you should go check this guy out and show him some love for all his work and accomplishments in Hollywood. Coming in at number 9 is Tim's Story. Now, if you ain't never seen what he looked like or you don't know who he is, but you've seen his movies, Think Like a Man 2, Fantastic Four, Riders of the Silver Surfer. Yeah, he directed those movies. Now, I know people say those Fantastic Four movies were not that good, but to me, when people say that, they're very biased and also they don't seem to understand how hard working he was in making those movies good. But he became the first, if not the first, he became either the second or third African American not actor, film director to actually direct superhero movies. He was the one who did both the Fantastic Four films. And when he did those movies, he put his heart and soul into that movie. And think about it, if it wasn't for him, do you think the director who did the Black Panther movie would be even given the opportunity to do it? I mean, they could have asked anybody to do this movie, and they chose him. And his career just got better. Like, yeah, the movies weren't perfect in the beginning, but this guy directed some television shows in the 1990s, is where he originally popped up and he was doing television shows. And then he would produce, he would co-write, and then he started directing some music videos because he also did some of them too. He did some of them R&B songs in the late 1990s, and then he got his big break in directing movies, and then he started doing these movies. Like when you Think Like a Man 1 and 2, that's what he's really known for. But he did movies before that. See, people always think about those movies, but it's like he did other movies besides that. And to me, I think he broke ground when he did Fantastic Four because you look at 10 years later, now you got black film directors coming in and doing big budget movies that are based from comic books. So he broke the ground for that. So you got to give this man some mad respect. And you may hate Fantastic Four, you may hate Fantastic Four Rise of a Silver Surfer, but he did kind of break in at a period where they were not allowing too many African American directors to direct big budget movies, television shows. I'm talking about big budget, and especially superhero movies such as Fantastic Four, because they had someone else do X-Men, they already had someone else do Spider-Man, but when he did Fantastic Four, he popped up on that same level. Like, you think of people like Sam Raimi, you think of somebody like Bryan Singer, he popped up on their same level. So you got to wonder, how is he on that list? Because he popped up. Think about it. Someone else could have directed those Fantastic Four films, and both those films could have still been perceived as terrible quality filmmaking. He got better, and you see the improvement when he did Think Like a Man 1 and 2. He just got better as a director. You know how they say men age like fine wine. It seems like the older he gets, the better he gets with his directing skills. Coming in at number 8 is Peter. Now, I talked about this man 3 times already. You know his movies. I shouldn't have to tell you. If you ain't never seen them, that's a shame. He did Get Out. It's by far one of his best psychological thrillers ever. He did a fantastic job. And then people say, oh, he's a one-hit wonder, and he proves to the naysayers, the skeptics, and the critics, he's not a one-hit wonder, because he comes back, and what does he do? He follows that up with a movie called Us, another psychological thriller. And what I like about him is he makes you use your brain. He makes you think about alternatives that could happen in the future. Like, I would call him the action slash thriller psychological director, because he makes you think. He makes you stay up at night And when you watch that movie, you sit down and you start thinking, yeah, what if those things actually do happen? But he also makes you think. He makes you talk to other people and think. Like when he creates art, he's creating art that you probably ain't never seen before. Now he popped up in the late 80s, early 90s as an actor. He was in movies and television shows, and he got his first taste of directing when he popped up on a show called Mad TV. You know, it's a funny comedy sketch show that makes fun of movies, television shows. I mean, he did try to pop up on Saturday Night Live, but it's hard to get on Saturday Night Live because he did try to get on that show like 7 times, and he managed to get up on shows like Living Color. He popped up on Mad TV, and that's where he basically got his start. And then you fast forward 15, 20 years later, he does Get Out. He does All of Us. He's going to produce the movie Candyman. He is the one who came back and brought Twilight, the television show, back. He gave horror its resurgence. When the horror genre was dying because, there was no Wes Craven, John Carpenter kind of took a break and retired. There weren't anyone to come resurrect the horror genre. He resurrected the horror genre. He gave it its resurgence. Now horror movies are being taken more serious because he does comedy, he does horror, he does a psychological thriller, he can do an action thriller, he can do multiple genres in one movie. So he's showing you I don't just do comedy and horror. I can get so creative that I'll have you scratching your head going, I had no idea that this guy was this good of a director. So he's very good. That's why he's on this list. That's why he's being mentioned as one of the greatest. Now he will go down in history as one of the greatest because I don't see no signs of him stopping no time soon. I mean, this guy's got so many projects that by the time you watch a movie like Get Out or All of Us, he's already working on 3 movies at the same time. Like he does 2 to 3 movies in 1 year. It's like it's hard to get a hold of him on the phone because he's always working on some projects. And just when you think you got him figured out, you don't because he's that good of a director. He stays working. He stays focused. He's a prime example that if you work your heart, you work your ass off, and you take your career, not your job, your career is serious, you can go far in places. You can go further. So he's made it. So you got to show this man some respect and some love. Coming in at number 7 is my man Bill Duke. Now Bill Duke is the man because he earned the number 7 spot. This man has also done it all in Hollywood. I mean, this man's been in movies, television shows. He's done theater, Broadway plays. The guy can produce. He can write. He can direct. The guy can act. The guy can create magic in front of your very eyes and captivate your imagination. And he even directed a big budget movie. He did the movie called Deep Cover. And the fact that I've watched that movie every time it comes on TV, cable, on video, on DVD with Jeff Goldblum and Lawrence Fishburne, it is one of the best action-packed movies I've ever seen. Very well written, very well directed, very well shot on location. The way he was able to sit down and make this movie so good. And the fact that he got to work around his schedule, because at that time he was doing movies and he was directing at the same time. Do you know how complicated it is to direct a big budget movie, turn around and be in a big budget movie? And he worked with a lot of the big heavyweights in Hollywood, okay? This man was in 2 movies. This guy was doing a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger called Commando. Then this guy turns around, he does a movie with Sylvester Stallone. Then he's been in movies where he got it on with Steven Seagal. Like, he been in 2 movies with Steven Seagal, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's been with the big heavyweights. And then to be one of the actors to see Lawrence Fishburne's career take off like the way it did, you know how hard it is to work with the big heavyweights, do a big budget movie with the heavyweights, and then turn and direct a big budget movie. He's the man. And then you fast forward 25 years later, he becomes a documentary filmmaker. So he can do documentaries. Again, he thought outside the box. And he did this one documentary to this very day that whenever it comes on cable, I watch it. And it's called Dark Skinned Girls. And the reason why he did it is because back when he was in Hollywood, he experienced a lot of racism, a lot of bias. A lot of people made fun of him. A lot of people made fun of Wesley Snipes, Samuel L. Jackson, because they were darker. And he took the concept of that and made it into a documentary because nobody found dark skinned black women physically sexually attractive. And he became angry and enraged by that because he likes dark skinned black women because he couldn't understand why some black men in their 20s and 30s were going after women who looked light skinned. He basically had an issue with it, so he made a documentary, and he actually got an award for it. So Bill Duke is the man. He's worked with Carl's Weather. If you've seen Action Jackson, he pops up in these movies. Okay, all your big heavyweights, he works with them. You name the big name actor, there's a good chance he's probably already been in the movie with them. You say Arnold Schwarzenegger, you say Sylvester Stallone, Steven Seagal, Lawrence Fishburne. He's worked with a lot of these big names. And if he wanted to, he could come out of retirement and pop up in a big budget movie. Like you look at a movie, he did a movie with Forrest Whitaker. Again, that's a big name actor. You say Denzel Washington, there's a good chance he probably have done the movie when Denzel first broke into Hollywood. He's even been in a movie with Samuel L. Jackson when he first popped up in those movies. He has a long resume. I mean, seriously, you look at his track record, you'll be impressed by all the movies he's been in. You look at Predator, that was like one of his best movies because you got to see him again work with Carl Weathers. So he's actually been in movies where he's worked with big actors 2 or 3 times in movies. Danny Glover, that's another big name actor he worked with. So all the people that I'm naming off, he actually have been in movies with. You can say 50 Cent. He worked with 50 Cent. If you've seen 50 Cent's movie, again, he showed that he can come out of retirement and still act. So he's been in movies. So this guy ain't no joke. He's serious. He's the real deal. That's why he's sitting at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is my man Tyler Perry. What can I say about Tyler Perry that has not already been said? He's like another version of Denzel Washington. I mean, the guy kicks ass. He takes names. He does movies, television shows. He does plays. And you know what's funny? He does them at the same time. He does a movie one minute. Then he turns around 5 hours later. He's on set of a movie. He does the movie, the television show, and the play at once. You watch the haves and have-nots. He got the play. Turns around and turns it into a TV show. Turn around, make it turn into a movie. Every time you watch his plays, they turn into movies and television shows, and it's like he can just create magic when he wants to. Like you go to Atlantic City, that's all they're gonna talk about. It's Tyler Perry. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Chances is you've seen his movies, television shows, and theater plays on 5 different cable channels, and you probably didn't even know it. And then the team up with Oprah. That's an unstoppable dynamic duo. That's like Kobe and Shaq, but in Hollywood. And the fact that he resurrects people's acting careers, like actors and actresses who already had their runs in the 80s and 90s, had trouble getting roles in movies and television shows in the 2000s, they pick up the phone, they call Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry takes them back to the top of the spotlight. This is a very important guy to have on your side on the winning team. And he showed that he don't just do comedy. He can do action. He can do suspense. He can do a situation movie. He takes life situations. He's worked with big name actors. Eldridge Alba. Yeah, he worked with Shamar Moore. He can get with the big names because he is a big name. And I think he's on a big project. I could just feel that another big project's coming with his name on it. This is a guy that went from nowhere to everything in a blink of an eye. So you may never know what Tyler Perry got coming in store for us. Coming in at number 5 is my man, Spike Lee. Spike Lee is one of these agriculture film directors. He's someone that does movie pieces. You know, he broke in the late 80s. You know, he did Do the Right Thing, Get on the Bus, Tales from the Hood. He does those types of films. And Spike Lee broke ground because he proved to the world that he could be the first guy to come in and do a movie that you just don't expect. Like, just when you think he's predictable, right? He does the complete opposite. He'll do movies like She Hates Me. That's like another movie that's outside the box. Like you expect someone like a Oliver Stone or someone like a Michael Mann to do some type of movie like that, but Spike Lee doesn't do stereotype movies. He do movies that you just don't expect. Movies you would never think he would do. Like he did this one military movie, I forgot the name of it, but it's based on the events of World War II, and he basically wanted to explain how these group of soldiers, African Americans, won us World War II. He wanted to tell his side of the story. And basically, he is controversial because we ain't gonna never forget his rivalry. He calls it entertainment, but people call it rivalry with against Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers, and how he was making fun of Reggie because the Pacers would always lose to the Knicks every time they played, and Reggie dropped 37 points. Looking at Spike Lee like, what now? And people blaming Spike for motivating his performance, but and then he's best friends with Denzel Washington, and it seemed like the only time he can, like, other directors can't even get on the phone with Denzel. Spike Lee takes his cell phone out and dials Denzel's phone number, and Denzel's on the phone. Yeah, what's up, my man? What's up? What's up, Spike Lee? I got a script for you, Denzel. Just send it to me through UPS mail. I'll look at it, my man. It's like speed dial. I got Denzel Washington on phone. Other directors can't get Denzel Washington on the phone, but Spike Lee can. He's also best friends with Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all times. Six-time NBA champion. He gets to be in the commercials with Michael Jordan. This is a director hanging out with Michael Jordan in the commercials. You ain't never seen nobody do nothing like that before or since. And those commercials are still being played to this very day. It's like, what? Spike Lee hanging out with Michael Jordan in a commercial? I mean, the fact that he was able to do that, and he's good at these movies. These movies he make, people still watch, get on the bus, do the right thing. People still watch those movies. You know, they watch his newer movies. They still watch his movies. And if it weren't for him, you wouldn't see too many African Americans be inspired to become film directors. You know, Spike Lee said, I'm not going to play basketball. I'm not going to play football. I'm not going to be no rapper. I'm going to be a director. And he did it. And when you think of him, you think of his movies. He's worked with big names too. Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson. You know, he worked with even some of these newer African-American actors. So you got to give Spike Lee his due because he's been around for 3 to 4 decades. You got to give him his due. Coming in at number 4 is my man, Denzel Washington. My man. Denzel is the man, okay? He is the guy that set the bar, and I'm willing to go as far as to say that Denzel Washington is like the Michael Jordan of this shit, okay? If Michael Jordan dominated basketball, Denzel Washington dominates this game, okay? The man did theater plays first. This guy's from the same city, the same town as the legendary Frank Lucas. And whoever thought that 20 plus years later that you would be in the same city, same town as Frank Lucas, and then all of a sudden you're playing Frank Lucas in a movie. Not too many actors get to do that. Johnny Depp has done that twice in his career. Denzel's done that like 4 times in his career. Played movies based on true stories. You look at John Q, that's based on a true story. You look at Hurricane Carter, that's based on a true story. Malcolm X, that's based on a true story. Every time you turn around, they got a movie based on a true story. Who do? They pick up the phone, they call Denzel Washington. Before any other actor, before Will Smith, before Dwayne The Rock Johnson, before anyone can audition for those roles, they all call Denzel Washington first because he is the Michael Jordan of this shit, okay? He is the reason why you're able to come to Hollywood and do what it is that you do. If it weren't for Denzel Washington doing action-packed movies, you would not have no Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You would not have no Elgin Alba. You would not have no Chaz Bowman. You would not have no Tyler Perry. Those people would not have been here if it weren't for Denzel. Denzel became the first actor to negotiate in his contract some creative control of his characters in movies, to become executive producer, and he don't just act. The guy did a movie called Antoine Fisher. It's a very good movie. It's a cult classic now. Nobody wanted to produce that movie. He took his money out of his pocket and said, I'll produce it. Nobody wanted to write the scripts. He'll write the script. Nobody wanted to direct the movie. He directed the movie. He produced, written, and directed the movie. And the fact that he was able to get people to participate in the movie and take less money, not too many big name actors in Hollywood are willing to say, well, I need to be paid $250,000. And Denzel looked at them and said, you're going to take less money for this movie because I'm Denzel Washington and I got it like that. I mean, the man has been in the game for like 4 decades. And at his age, you would never expect him to keep dropping hits like this every day. I mean, the man does Equalizer. And then he turns around and he teams up with Mark Wahlberg and does Two Guns. Then he does Equalizer 2. It's like, oh shit, Denzel whooping ass like that? Book of Eli. And the fact that there's only 3 people in the world that Denzel Washington trusts: the Hughley brothers, Spike Lee, and then Antoine Fuqua. So you gotta kind of like think about it. Those are only 3 people in Hollywood that can get on the phone on speed dial and say, yo, Denzel, and Denzel gonna go, yeah, my man, what's up? Because it's Denzel Washington. Women love Denzel, trust me. Women, when they saw Training Day, they couldn't believe that Denzel transformed until their sexual fantasy come true. I mean, there's The Devil in the Blue Dress. Yeah, that's a movie that a lot of people don't know about. Denzel been in a lot of movies. Out of Time. You know, he's done these movies, these good movies. Denzel's done so many movies, it's hard to keep track of. There's Deja Vu. There's so many Denzel classics. You can just type them up, and he's been in the movies. You know, a lot of people are shocked that Denzel did a sequel because most of the time Denzel has a rule. He don't repeat the same thing twice. He did the play of Malcolm X, then he did the movie of Malcolm X. So Denzel can play any genre. And when he did a Western, do you know how happy I was when he was in the movie called The Magnificent Seven? To me, he was like the best parts of that movie. And he's got his iconic smile. Anytime you watch his movies, he always goes, my man. And it's like, you know, when he says that, you're going to get one of the greatest Denzel Washington performances of your entire life. Whether it's a movie, television show, whether it's him directing. I mean, Antoine Fisher is also based on a true story. And again, every time they do these based on these true stories, they got to pick the phone up and call my man Denzel, because Denzel is the man. He is the Michael Jordan of this shit. Coming in at number 3 is going to be John Singleton. This is a legend right here, people. Now, it's a tragedy and it's unfortunate what happened to him when he passed away. He passed away way too early. I still don't think we got to see his full potential of what he really could have done. I still think that he was still tapping into it. We still hadn't seen the biggest movie masterpiece that he could have made. And when you look at all his movies, and I know some people are going to say, but they were just hood movies. Hood movies or not, those are some masterpieces that he directed. He did Boys in the Hood with very little to close no money. I mean, studios would not touch that movie. They heard he wanted to go to Compton and South Central. They ran for the hills. Oh, hell no, you out your damn mind. And John Singleton says it's going to be a smash hit. I can make the movie. Studios ran away from John Singleton when he gave them the idea to do Boys in the Hood. Nobody wanted that movie. He took some of his money and pumped it into the production, got on the phone, and he called actors. Normally, a cast director does that. John Singleton said, I'm going to do it. He called Ice Cube. Ice Cube said, hell yeah. He brought in Cuban Gooding Jr. He brought in Lawrence Fishburne. He brought in, what's that sex symbol that all women go crazy for? Morris Chestnut. He brought these names to the big screen and made them all into household names. He worked with Tyra Banks. He worked with Tupac. He worked with Omar Epps. He then turns around and brings in Tyrese Gibson and launches his acting career in Baby Boy. He did a movie called Higher Learning. He did a movie called Rosewood. So the range of different genres of where John Singleton to take it, he's a legend. You got to show this man some love, because he came in at a period where All they want you to just do the same stuff. And he said, no, I'm not gonna do the same stuff. I'm gonna make my movies have a positive message. When you watch my movies, when you watch Boys in the Hood, when you watch Poetic Justice, Tupac, Janet Jackson, one of the best love scenes in movie history, cinema history, it don't get no better than that. The man got to work with the man, Tupac Shakur. And people are right. When you hear stories on the internet that it should have been John Singleton who directed the Tupac movie, he wanted to direct the movie. He spent 10 years hanging out with Tupac. Studios wouldn't allow it. And that's why the Tupac movie came out the way it came out. Had John Singleton directed Tupac, you would have got a much better movie than what you got. And this man was just only getting started. He had yet to reach his full potential as a filmmaker, as a film director. Coming in at number two and tied at number two is Antoine Fuqua and the Hughley brothers. Now, let me start with Antoine Fuqua and why him and the Hughley brothers are tied for number two spot. Antoine Fuqua is one of them film directors that you don't expect that when you see an action-packed movie like Replacement Killers, you just don't think someone's going to do a movie like that. You think of Oliver Stone. You think of Michael Bay. And when you find out it's him who directed, you're like, he created this masterpiece? Training Day. A lot of people thought it was going to be Michael Mann because he did Heat. It's Antoine Fuqua. Equalizer. Equalizer 2. Softball. He does a boxing movie. He does these movies and he surprises the hell out of you because he does movies you just don't expect. And he don't just say, all right, action. He actually builds a foundation and a relationship with all the actors and actresses. Like he'll go to their house or their apartment and spend the whole day with the actor. And he don't even talk about the movie that he wants them to be in. He tries to get to know them as a human being, what they're going through in their personal life, so he can have a better idea on how to make the adjustments for their characters in the movies. How many film directors are willing to put their ego to the side, take time out of their schedule, and sit down and create a foundation with the actors and actresses and get to know them on a personal level? He hangs out with the actors as if they're a human being, and then when it's time to go to work, they trust him more because he executes the ability to make them look better on camera. And this is why when actors see him, they want to work with him. Normally, you see a director say, I want to work with this actor. But when you hear an actor say, I want to work with a director, that doesn't always happen all the time. Now, the Hughley brothers, I've been watching them for a long, long time. I went to Los Angeles City College. The Hughley brothers went to Los Angeles City College. And I took a class, like about 7 or 8 years ago, I took a class. And this teacher told the story of how Menace to Society was made into a movie. The guy made that his film project, turned around and took the film project and turned it into a feature-length film. And to this very day, every time that movie come on, you should know it's his movie.